Hey folks, Phil the Bee Man here. It's just a little bit before supper time on a beautiful October day. We normally don't get weather this nice. Still cool enough to want to wear a pretty good sweater, but it's not terrible. I'm looking at a couple hives here that seem to be falling apart on me, and it just so happened that I was coming home from an errand and I dropped in at this yard, and first few hives, the lids I lifted up didn't look too good, so I've come back now for a closer look. Main thing is to try to figure out, is this like natural causes, queen loss, something, or is this a sign of disaster? So I'm going to take some samples and see what we got. I'll tip this in so you can see a bit better. So this hive wasn't strong enough to even take all its feed. And it's only a small selection of bees here. But there's live brood. Don't see any eggs. That probably isn't a panic. So it's not that they've lost their queen. Quite a bit of brood there. They're doing their damnedest to stay in the hunt. Well, that's interesting. Sometimes interesting is good, sometimes it's not. I think this is one of those not times. I do see some signs of recent queen supersedure. You see there's a old swarm cell on the bottom there. Side cells here. It might be that this thing has only recently requeened itself, and that certainly would affect its population. The brood here looks pretty darn decent, like it's not every other cell or something. Often if a hive has gotten this weak, there would be, if it's mites, they'd be all crawling all over the place. I'd like to find the queen before I take a sample, but I don't see her. Okay, well let's take the sample anyway. And it's hard to know what to do with a hive like this. Like really, it's on the way out. So there's no point trying to only take a few of the bees. It doesn't stick on all that great. Not seeing massive numbers of mites. I'm not seeing any mites. That's interesting. Okay, well, that's the first hive. I don't imagine I'll see them again. I think that's curtains for those guys. Let's look at this one. Now, this one looks a heck of a lot better, actually. Small, but not impossible to survive small. And these cold temperatures, getting that first frame out is always the challenge. Now here we got just honey stores. We're now into the core of the cluster. Still brood. Let me bring this a little closer here. Brood here. Most of it hatching out. No white eggs or larvae or anything. That time of year should be pretty much done. And that can make it hard to find the queens, because as her egg laying reduces, her metabolism slows and she kind of shrinks down. So it's much less clear where she's going to be. Another little patch of brood there. And just for open syrup here. So I don't think I'm going to sample that one. I want to get a sample of hives that are really in trouble. And that one doesn't thrill me, but it's not a disaster. I have one or two further along that needed some attention. Well, that one's probably okay. Well, that's a beauty, that one. Let's have a look here. That's what they should look like. Just wall-to-wall bees. And they're happy enough. That's that's the goal. And heavy as a moose. Holy smokes. Let's go to the next pair. Okay, well this hive really in trouble. And it sounds queenless. And it's hardly taking in any feed. Maybe it's robbed out. There's nothing really here. Few bees, kind of old bees, haven't been replaced with any young ones. Most of the honey's robbed out or consumed, and lots of pollen because they've had no brood to need it. Huh. That's one of my own queens from this spring. So that's on me, that one. This isn't what I want to sample. This is not a disease problem. This is well, beekeeper failure, really. Let's face it. Okay, well, I don't think there's much wrong here. A little light, probably only 60, 70 pounds. But I'm not worried about that one. Let's look over here. Beautiful. Okay. Here. I should be careful. I've been kind of just cracking the hives where the lids or the pails are all consumed. You could easily bias your sample. Yeah, that one's not as nice. Lots of pollen. It's a sign of inadequate brood rearing. In my little corner of the world, pollen in September is pretty precious. If they're banking that up, they're probably got a problem with the hive. And it sounds queenless. Again, lots of pollen. No sign of brood. See a bee here with shrunken wings. Don't like that at all. You can see it there. Drones, which is a bit unusual, but it's been a very unusual fall. There's no sign of brood or any queen in this hive at all. I'm going to take a sample. You see those shrunken wings? You got to be thinking worst case scenario here. That doesn't make me too happy. Well, I should have been keeping better count, but there was at least 3 or 4 that were train wrecks. So on a yard of 40, to have 10% be write-offs before you even gone into winter ain't so good. Sun's just going down on the horizon. Let's see what we got in here. Well, I got one. I'm seeing one mite swimming around in there. The light's not good enough to show you, probably. Maybe there's a few more. Ooh. I'll have to get back to the shop. But I think what I've learned is I need to get out tomorrow with my sample jars and do some work and really try to figure out what I'm looking at here. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good day.